Okay, so what we have here are two air pads that are in competition with each other. They're both made by Klymit, and they're both little air pads. They're both 3/4 torso air pads. One of them is no longer available to purchase. This is the Gossamer Gear Long Wide Air Pad, and this over here is the Junior V. Now, the Junior V is a little bit wider than other 3/4 torso air pads. Actually, it's the widest one. Most of them are 21 inches wide, and the Junior V is 23 inches wide. But let's see how that compares to the Gossamer Gear Long Wide Air Pad. So as you can see, the Gossamer Gear Long Wide Air Pad is a little bit wider on the edges. That top corner of the baffle, it does get out a little bit farther. Now, for me, that's the big issue, is that I'm a side sleeper. I have a tendency to put my head on the corner and my butt kind of on the edge. I put my feet on the pack. Okay, so with the Gossamer Gear Long Wide Air Pad, there's no gap between my knees and the pack. Whereas with the Junior V, there is a little bit of empty space there where your ankles are kind of hovering above open ground. That does actually create kind of a cold spot. What ended up happening to me was my valve on the Gossamer Gear Long Wide Air Pad failed. I sent it into Klymit, and they don't have any more of these long wide air pads, so they sent me the I requested the X-Wave. I tried the X-Wave for one night, and I found that it was like really hard. It's only got 1.5 inches of loft, and in order to lift yourself up off the ground, you got to use a hand pump and pump it up until it basically feels like a 2x4 that kind of feels like an egg crate. So the big advantage of the Junior V is that it's got 2.5 inches of loft, so it's plenty comfortable to lay on. It's also got these great valves that don't fail. This is kind of what X-Ped used to use. And these big air valves, you know, they're easy to blow into and they don't fail. It's pretty simple. Whereas these more complex air valves, this can't go in the washing machine. Moisture has a tendency to cause those valves to fail. I mean, that's what I found with this one. I recently used this Gossamer Gear Long Wide Air Pad, and it failed on me. It was kind of flat when I woke up in the morning. It's still usable, but I was a little bit on the ground. As far as weight, the issue with the Junior V is that it's got this really thick denier polyester. This is tough stuff. I mean, this is almost military grade polyester. It's a little bit hefty. I mean, it's not heavy, but it's actually a half a pound. They're about, I think, the weight is definitely competitive. Okay, I think the Junior V is 13 ounces. There's 16 ounces in a pound. The Junior V is 13 ounces. I think that what's it called? Thermarest. They make a short air pad that's only like 21 inches wide or 20 inches wide. It's about the same length as the Gossamer Gear Air Pad, and it's only 8 ounces. So that's exactly half a pound. You're shedding 5 pounds. So there's 16 ounces in a pound. 5 times 3 is 15, so that's like a third of a pound. So with the Thermarest, you're shedding a third of a pound. I mean, it's a little bit longer, but you can't really roll side to side because it's just not wide enough. What I find with these wider air pads is that if you have a long mummy bag, it has cold spots in it. There's parts of the mummy bag that aren't touching you and they're not very warm. When you roll from side to side on a wider air pad, you're able to stay kind of in that warm pocket on your mummy. You don't have to adjust. You don't have to slide your butt back, The issue with the really thin air pads that are only 20 inches wide is that when you roll to the side, your face kind of falls off the edge of the air pad. You got to move your face back to the center of the air pad, and then when you scoot your butt back to get back into the middle of the air pad, you're scooting into a cold spot inside the mummy. Now, all that moving around in the middle of the night is going to prevent you from falling asleep. When you're able to just roll to the side and just sleep, and you stay in the same part of the mummy that you were in, and then roll to the other side and just continue to go to sleep, you're gonna get more sleep ultimately. It's a comfort thing. It's just the functionality of the air pad and getting enough sleep out of your sleep system so that you can hike effectively, in the morning. So you're never gonna get that much sleep if you're not using a really thick denier tent that blocks the sun. You're gonna wake up early in the morning. You're gonna be up by about 7 or 8. You're never going to get that much sleep when you're sleeping outdoors, but the idea is that you get ample sleep. You sleep through the night. And in order to do that, I need the width. I need these wide air pads. The Gossamer Gear Long Wide is great. It really was wide enough to just sleep on all night. It's also got enough loft that it's really cushy and comfortable, and it's kind of long enough that there's really no cold spot. You put your pack on the ground and put your feet on the pack. The X-Wave was a little bit too short, and it really didn't have any loft. It felt a lot like sleeping on the dirt. It isn't like sleeping on the dirt because it allows your mummy bag to get warm because the ground is cold, and it lifts your bag off the ground a little so that you can get warm. So it's not quite as cold as sleeping on the ground, but it was kind of hard and cold. The Junior V is a step up from that. With 2.5 inches of loft, you're going to be able to get some sleep, which is kind of important. So the denier is thick and tough. It's not going to pop, and the valves are trustworthy. They're nice and big and simple. You can definitely sleep on it upside down. You don't have to sleep on it with a pillow at that end. You could sleep with your head at this end. It doesn't matter. They're both comfortable. They're both warm. And I think that pretty much sums it up. But basically, the Junior V is in competition with the Nemo. The Nemo's got a short air pad that's much smaller than this, and so does Thermarest. Thermarest has got a short air pad that's only 8 ounces, but it's thinner. They're different. It's a different kind of sleep system. So, if you don't want to put your air pad inside of your mummy, if you want to, I have a synthetic mummy, and I like to get in it nice and sweaty at night, nice and sweaty and dirty, and I plan on putting that mummy into the washing machine. So I like to have my air pad underneath me. If you plan on putting your air pad inside the mummy, you would want to go with something different, something thinner that fits inside of the mummy bag. But for me, this is basically my only choice. Klymit used to make the Gossamer Gear Long Wide, and this is gone. The V Junior is the closest thing to it. So there they are side by side. All right, so yeah, for anybody who was wondering if it's comfortable, yeah, it is. This is a Klymit air pad. They're comfortable. The Junior V is comfortable too. It only goes down to the knee. The bottom is right at the knee. Let's see if you can see that. Never mind. I'm not sure if you can see that, but all right, hold on. You see that? It's there's the knee. This is my knee right here. It's right at the knee. So everything from the knee down is on the ground. You got to put that on a pack. You got to put your pack underneath your feet and lift your feet up off the ground. But yeah, this is comfortable. This is plenty comfortable. It's got a lot of loft. It's really squishy. It's like laying on a balloon, like a balloon you would get at a 4th of July fair. So yeah, it's really comfortable. I'm laying on it. It's nice. It's on my back especially. It takes a lot of stress out of your back. It's nice and comfy. It's nice to lay on.